What's up? Diyan Playo. Welcome back to another episode of Recall at your service. My name is Leo, your host. As always, again, thank you for making time ngayong gabi to join us. We have a special guest joining us in just a bit. But before that, let me remind everyone that the show is made possible by our friends here at Dark League Studios, as well as our partners. Thank you so much to our official timing partner, TW Steel by Armory. Go ahead and use the code DLS20 upon checkout to get 20% off on all non-sale items. So as you check out, go ahead and type in DLS20. You can visit www.armory.ph. That's ARMOURY.ph. As well, thank you so much to our official food partner. That's Chicken Juicy by Magnolia. Let me, real quick, let you guys hear what this is like, all right? Oh. Chicken Juicy is the home of the juiciest, most flavorful fried chicken you've ever tasted. I've ever tasted, that's for sure. It's the #1 gaming snack and the chicken of champions. That's Chicken Juicy. As well, kung nyo pa napapanood, kagabi, dito sa Dark League Studios, in Chill Zone, as hosted by our friend Toriyama, he had on Ms. AJ Barueso. And they were live, well, hybrid live. The show was recorded from Ako Si Doggy's boot camp in Pangasinan. So, after the show, kung may time pa kayo and you wanna know what's up with AJ, go ahead and watch Chill Zone, right? It's right here on this Facebook page. As well, if you guys are excited and wondering, kailan nga ba ang PBA Esports Bakbakan playoffs? I want to watch the top 4 teams. I want to see, well, in my case, Barangay Ginebra take home the dub. It's happening on May 1st, alright? Abangan na lang kung saan ito magaganap because there's going to be a live aspect to this. Pwede kayo manood dito. It's happening on May 1st at 1 p.m. Catch the first matchups once more. Phoenix versus Barangay Ginebra. TNT versus Northport. Yun ang unang dalawang bakbakan na magaganap. And it's going to be single elims. Alright? Isa lang ang pwede manalo dyan. That's for PBA Esports Bakbakan. As well, quick reminder, Quantum Raid is finally happening. And it's going to be happening via a hybrid setup. Pwedeng online, pwedeng on-site dito sa Dark League HQ. It's happening this Saturday, April 22nd, 2023. Show starts at 11 a.m. Meron din tayong teapot and cosplay contests. Join now. This is the Quantum Raid. And last but not least, for all of you Valorant and Call of Duty mobile fans, we have Rise of Agents and the Delta League coming up soon. Once more, these are all brought to you by Dark League Studios. So just like and follow them on social media to stay updated. Now, no further ado, let's go ahead and introduce our special guest for tonight. Joining a recall for the nth time. Basta nakaraming recall na to. Even when we were just online, let's all welcome Hans Galleria, aka Sona Esports. Sona, kamusta?
What's up, yo? I mean, it's honestly pretty good na nandito ako ngayon. And nanigurado lang ako kasi in the flesh na siya. Kasi as he mentioned from before, we always do this online and we usually host and we have a lot of guests. But
I'm real.
Time, right? It's real. It's real.
Since we started the show back in 2021, yan, madalas online lang, you know, because again, the show was birthed out of the pandemic. And of course, we started this season 7 MPL, and now season 11. Years later, andito na tayo ngayon. Again, thanks for making time, man. Tell us, kumusta? How are you? What have you been up to recently? And first of all, para sa hindi nakakilala kay Sona, how'd you get here? How'd you get your start in the MPL and in esports?
I mean, I was one of the finalists come the caster search, the very first caster search kung saan I was with OSX, I was with, of course, the champion, the king caster search champion, we would say. And then, you know, I waited for a year to get my opportunity, and from there, I was able to make my debut in Season 10, initially as a courtside reporter because that is what I was supposed to do. And yun yung nakikita nyo sa mga screens nyo ngayon. Later on, I was given the opportunity to do both English cast in Season 10 and also being part of the Filipino broadcast. So parang, it was very much of a huge step for me kasi parang na-explore ko lahat in just one season. And it was just, you know, marvelous. And ngayon, I'm still here. I'm still doing a lot of things. Kahit na dinadog show ako ng MPL, I still love it.
Lahat naman yata, dinadog show ng MPL. I mean, I was sent
yung
to the...
recent.
Okay, ikaw yung mas... Tsaka ikaw din yung madalas kasi nga kung saan-saan ka nakikita eh.
That's true.
So there's more opportunities.
That's true.
To be dogged show or dog show? Regardless, Kaya rin indisposable si Sona kasi nga sobrang G niya and sobrang ready siyang bigay serbisyo sa lahat ng aspeto.
You always say yes.
ng MPL. So, again, happy to be here with you. Happy to have you on the show tonight. Let's go ahead and hit our first headline, all right? We're talking about the international scene first, given that all of the countries, all of the regions involved in the upcoming MSC.
My armor.
Yan. So, this is a Sona special right here. Those who know, you know, mahilig siya mag-drawing. So, prepared siya. All right, so, the countries involved in the upcoming MSC 2023 are slowly locking in their reps.
Yep.
Nauna na ang MPL Indonesia, and the reason why I think is pretty obvious, and sila na rin umamin na we expedited or we rushed our MPL so that we can prepare for SEA Games.
Yeah.
Good luck. You're gonna need it. So, let's talk about that first. Yung kanilang grand finalists in Onyx and Esports. Let's first talk about the champion, Onyx Esports.
I mean, Onyx Esports, there's nothing else to say about these guys. Sobrang dominante, sobrang solid ng comp nila. They've already established what they want to do. Come M3, dumating yung M4, and they've reached such a very close, tanging nakahadlang lang naman sa kanila is yung Pilipinas. But again, it's us. So let me introduce you to like a graphic that I have. If you're gonna put it a little close here, it's like right there. I mean, I don't know if you guys can see it. Maybe here on the other side. Okay, let me help you. Okay, so there's Indonesia, right? You can see Onyx over on this side. They're simply huge because of how dominating they are. Like their spikes are just right over there.
The hedgehog spikes,
Yeah, those are the hedgehog spikes.
Not a porcupine.
And let me tell you, and let me tell you about it. Like EVOS is there. I mean, it's also like
it's a little kitty.
It's also a representative, but like Onyx is them.
Ganon. Just
That's how I would say it. 4-0, nothing else to say.
So
Kyrie's there. Let's go.
Wait lang. I talked to our guests last week, Athena and JMTZ, about yun nga, yung 4-0 na victory ng Onyx Esports over EVOS, who is also a rep. Let's talk about this in the context of that. EVOS EVOS Legends rather, is also a rep, so grand final sila. Pero natalo sila ng Onyx 0, right? It was a clean sweep.
Yeah.
Do you think that was bound up? Inevitable ba na sweep yun? In your eyes, like just honestly speaking.
I love EVOS. I love that they're making a comeback, but it is inevitable. Yes.
Ganun talaga.
Simply because of the fact na most of their matchups during the MPL Indonesia playoffs were all reverse sweeps. Like, ang dami nilang ginastos, kumbaga. Ang dami nilang kinailangan just to make it to the next round, just to get through with the playoffs. Hanggang sa umabot sa point na pagdating nung prime time na talaga,
ubus na.
Doon sila naubusan. Or, doon sila nabasa ng Onyx.
Well, tama nga naman, and I think Coach Yeb, Coach Adi, they did their homework.
Yep.
And pinanood nila parang, gulo nito
And imagine, ang dami mong pwedeng ilagay dun sa board. Like, okay, they're gonna pick this. This may possibilities na sila. If you guys know the game, Detroit Become Human, we're in like,
options
already,
branching,
and it's just Coach Yeb and Coach Adi playing the game.
Yep.
That's how I see it.
That said, they do deserve the spot, right?
Yeah.
Kasi nga, ang isang parang present kong proposal last week was, what if it was Alter Ego who came up, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is, hindi nga naman dumaan yung Alter Ego, they didn't beat EVOS. So, as much as we'd like to say, if it was if it was Onyx Alter Ego, baka hindi yun sweep.
Yeah. And again, they had the chance.
They
won 2-0.
They started 2-0, yeah. So, ganun talaga. I think that's why I'm saying good luck na lang when it comes to MSC. Because, and SEA Games, hear me out, right? Kung kinailangan mong mag 5 games paulit-ulit, and Onyx is your only clean team, mahirap na. Lalo na when other countries come up, not even the Philippines, not even just our reps. Let's talk about another rep that has been confirmed and locked in. The champions of the recently concluded MPL-SG, RSG Slate SG. Sila dito yung parang, yung may red logo kasi nga SG. Diba?
Okay.
So sila ngayon yung may dynasty.
Yep. Sila yung may dynasty. They're simply the strongest in Indonesia. I mean, Crown God did everything he could. He was one of our representatives, our Filipino imports over at Singapore.
Under Flash?
Lumalaban, yes, I believe it's under Team Flash. So it's like very difficult for him kasi very established na yung RSG Singapore. They did it once in MSC, also participated in M4. Unfortunately, they went out talaga as soon as they could. But again, I have a drawing here to represent the whole scenario, right? So
second ba? Second?
Yeah, second. So there you have it. Let's just say that RSG is sitting at their throne.
The throne, okay.
And then everybody's just like, hailing down,
bow
bowing
down. Okay.
If you know the meme, you know, right?
So with like the yung parang statue na malaki, alright?
Yeah. And then SG casters are like, oh well, there's nothing we can do about it. They're just too strong. Cram God's like in a little tight corner because he's not gonna bow down. He reached the finals.
Okay,
right?
so Cram, may Pinoy pa rin.
So like Cram God is there.
Who's the other one?
Maybe one of his teammates.
Okay.
Yeah, because he doesn't want to be alone.
Okay.
And then, RSG basically kings of Singapore. Casters, nothing to do about it. And the rest of the, MPL Singapore just, there's nothing we can do about it.
I'm sure we can create that meme properly.
Yeah.
But it's a good representation.
Please do it.
Interestingly enough, I think this is a rebuild phase for SG. And during rebuilding, parang ang magandang isend na rep for MSC for an international affair like this is your strongest, like your cleanest team.
Yep.
Right? It's known that EVOS SG is no more. They had to go under a different banner recently, and then ang dami pa nabago eh. Like the whole SG ecosystem right now, I believe, is in flux. I see it that way, na parang
Can I just say, I miss Potato. Potato is now coach. Potato used to be so good, so cool. He's one of the main reasons why SG reached 4th place, their top spot in World Championships, and now he's the coach. So like, dun pa lang major rebuild na.
Yeah. So hopefully RSG slate is ready.
Yeah.
And I hope the other SG teams parang share resources to help RSG slate SG prepare for this para maganda ang pasok. So that SG eventually builds up to become a superpower in the MLBB realm. Kasi nga, if you remember, was that M3, M4? M3!
Yeah.
Ang taas ng SG nun!
Right? They're 4th. I think they were defeated by, I believe, Blacklist International. But again, they're higher than Indonesian teams during
At the time, yes.
Right?
So, interesting yung parang status quo. So, I hope somehow we can get back to that because SG is amazing and there's a lot of promise there. Now, the last confirmed rep, at least for now, as of recording and as of shooting here, is our not Cambodian, Burmese. Yeah, Burmese representative, all right? Recently concluded MSC qualifiers from Myanmar is Phoenix Esports. Honestly, I have to admit, this is a new team in my eyes. They beat AI in the grand finals, and they knocked out Falcon in the qualifiers as well. Now, I think you know something about this one. Nakilala mo sila. Where did you last see them in competition?
I mean, we last saw them last year, wherein during the IESF qualifiers, kung saan kasama ang ating national team from the Philippines, they actually managed to defeat Team Cebu during that time, and they defeated them not only a simple defeat but via a sweep. Kaya nagkaroon sila ng difficulty towards really qualifying towards the towards IESF. Unfortunately, there were of course some circumstances na hindi natin mapipigilan kaya siguro hindi sila nakasali. But again, here's how I would describe the whole scenario, right? What we know versus what we don't know.
Iceberg!
Right? It's an iceberg. What we know from Phoenix Esports is of course, they're gonna be another Myanmar squad that's gonna shake things up, that's gonna shock the Southeast Asia, or that's gonna shock the MSC. But at the same time, what we don't know is, or if most of you guys have known, na yun nga, natalo nila ang Cebol, natalo nila ang Burmese schools, they've defeated Falcon Esports who dominated last year. And from what we can see, especially during the Myanmar MLBB scenario, kung sino yung nagsisimula ng taon na malakas, sila yung nagtatapos ng taon na malakas. We've seen Burmese schools from before. We've seen Falcon Esports from last year na nag-participate sa MSC and then went to M4. So, maybe this is the time for, I believe, Phoenix Esports. But again, AI is the team that they defeated. Yun yung
merong D and Ace from
Yes.
Burmese schools.
Yun yung parang spiritual successor ng
Right? Burmese schools,
yeah.
right? Unfortunately, hindi sila nakapasok. So,
Sila panalo eh.
right? And it just goes to show how strong these guys are.
Yeah. So, ayun, personally, I have to just take what you just said and say, ang power scaling ko for Phoenix and what I expect from them is from the teams that they beat.
Yeah.
The teams that I know can perform, like again, AI, Falcon specifically, and the fact that they beat these teams means they're preparing hard and they're training hard. So, definitely excited to see what Phoenix can bring on an international scale, a tournament as important
Yep.
as MSC 2023. So, yun na lang. Let's see who else comes in. There's 8 more slots and slowly mapifill up na yan.
Still a
Again,
lot.
Yep. Still a lot, but just the same, mapifill up yan very quickly.
Yeah.
When we conclude our playoffs, that's 2 already. When NACT ends in mid-May, another one.
Turkey, there's Malaysia, there's a lot.
Diba? MPL Malaysia also has their playoffs coming up soon. They have 1 slot. So, more on that eventually as the days go by. Kasi nga, recall will not stop. As long as there's MLBB to talk about, we'll keep covering it. So, ayun, abangan kung sino yung mga next pang reps na pwede natin pag-usapan. But for now, let's go ahead and talk about our next headline, talking about the MDL. The MDL playoffs is literally happening tomorrow.
Yeah.
Day 1 bukas, but just the same, they have had their regular season finish.
Yep.
And we want to talk about it as a whole, like as a complete picture. First off, let's talk about what it looks like as a viewer. How do you feel about the performance of MDL as a league and what it aimed to do in its inaugural season?
I mean, it shows based on the players. It's the reason why they're picked in the MDL is dahil parang hiwalay talaga or iba yung laro ng mga nasa MDL compared to those who are currently playing and really doing their best to make it to the professional scene. And especially, there are some of the teams na nakita natin na kinuha mula sa ibang team. There's also someone who was already part of the MPL but
Yep.
instead went to MDL and kita mo yung performance nila compared to the others. And then there were some that were given an opportunity. So halo-halo pa rin siya. Kahit na sabihin natin na this is somewhat of like an opportunity for those na galing amateur scene to prove themselves. They're gonna have to prove themselves against the people who were from MPL and technically are already pros.
Yung mga doon, world champ eh.
Right?
Diba? Blacklist has a world champ, Echo has a world champ, Zol has a world champ.
Wow. So,
May missing anyone, no? Yun na yun.
yeah, no.
Diba?
Yeah.
So, now that we mentioned it, you have to acknowledge the fact na merong amateurs, merong fresh,
Yep.
like, names and faces you didn't even hear of, even in the amateur scene at least. Like,
Yeah.
people you've never heard of from Kings League, people from Juicy Legends, people from all of these other tournaments, like top clans,
Yeah.
na first time nila magpakita sa MDL alone.
Like maybe you're hearing them, pero hindi pa siguro talaga nag-ring a bell. But
Yeah.
as soon as they start to make names and start to, make a lot of plays during the MDL, saka mo makikilala na, siya pala yun. Siya yung
Yes.
napapanood ko dati.
Or naririnig ko. So there's that. And then there's also the fact na yun nga, may mga vets na hindi lang vets just because at one time or 2 times nag-MPL. Yan nga, meron kang mga Doc Ribo, meron kang mga Daddy JP,
Right?
na talagang best of the best. Now, this is the first time I'm gonna say this, but does MDL mean it's not completely pro just yet, but also, it's not amateur anymore? It's its own kind of thing.
Parang gray area.
Parang
like,
semi-pro,
yeah.
parang...
Right?
Parang nasa gitnaan ng tulay.
Oo.
Di ba? Like, you're
So
not
you're somewhat
completely...
deciding where to
Oh, you're
go.
not completely laro-laro lang.
Yeah.
Pero, you're not a full-time pro just yet. And I think that's why players like Dudut chose to be in the MDL first. Is because yun nga, gusto niya mag-aral.
Yeah.
So, gusto niya yung, parang ayaw niya yung full commitment ng pagiging MPL pro, pero gusto pa rin maglaro.
Pero may chance pa rin siya na makatongtong uli doon.
Yeah.
So, that's like a major success then for them kasi they get to make their choice. And fortunately for them, MDL is like a process to do that. Na parang nakikita mo sila na to actually explore and do things that they want while also doing their very best to become pros. And of course, it's up to them pa rin naman. Nakikita natin yung ibang mga players from the MDL that are actually really, working very hard not only to of course, be the best players that they can be, but to also make it to the champion, to be the very first champion of MDL. Mind you, ito ang pinakaunang MDL season sa Pilipinas. So, it's gonna be a huge luxury for any other team out there kung sino man nanalo.
Yeah, I like that you put it as a process.
Yeah.
Compared to MPL Philippines, like the pro scene, the pro
You need
league.
to be a finished product.
Oo, ano yun talaga? Bakbakan talaga yun. And that's really a test of your mettle, of your mental fortitude. Kasi hindi ka pwede magkamali doon.
Right.
Now, this may sound bad. This may sound, you can take this negatively, pero that's what I've observed from MDL. They're more willing to play. They're more willing to experiment and explore. Not to say there's nothing on the line, pero hindi ka makakita ng ganong klaseng playfulness sa MPL.
Can I just say, it's also the first time na nakakita tayo ng Alice Jungle was in the MDL.
Tapos, eventually.
Eventually, na-absorb siya ng MPL. So, when you think about it, it's like, as you said, parang trial and error siya. Doon mo susubukan muna lahat. And then when it works, it's like, MPL players are like, oh, I might actually try this
Pwede naman pala
for
eh.
once a scrim. And
Yeah.
then we now see it a lot of times.
And, competitively speaking, like, rule set as is, konti lang yung pinagkaiba eh. If anything, walang pinagkaiba. It's still
Right.
5-ban. It's still best of 3s in the regular season. So, yun, I think it's more of an atmosphere kind of thing. It's more of a setting na parang, okay, dito, development league to, yun nga, it's a process.
Yeah.
Like, throughout the 6 weeks of competition, pwede kayo mag-try. If you perform well, your franchise might pull you up.
Yeah.
For Zol and for Game Lab,
Yeah.
it's just for you to really perform.
And honestly, I can't wait if magkaroon na tayo ng MDL for on-site. Like, that's gonna, shatter the stigma between all
Yes,
of the teams.
I'd like to agree because the fan bases of the teams like Zol and Game Lab,
Yeah.
malakas din yung mga yun eh.
Right.
Diba? And not to mention like Arsenals, Onyx Arsenals, who had their own parang fan base before they became Onyx. So, ayun lang, there's so many aspects of the MDL that I think they did well,
Yep.
or again, that can be worked on for the next few seasons. Kasi season 1 pa lang naman to. Now, let's talk about how the MDL performs as a D-League when you're comparing it in the sense of D-League in other esports. In other sports,
Yep.
right? Esports, kasi eto, I did the homework.
Okay.
Esports, konti lang yung may totoong D-League na recognized like a D-League.
Yeah.
Right? You can say that there are a lot of amateur tournaments for other esports,
But it's not
pero yung
considered
totoong D-League lang, that's established, I googled it, bro. I swear, I googled it. League of Legends PC in China. Yun lang yung may LDL.
Oh my goodness.
And that's China, bro. Like, China has one of the biggest esports scenes alone.
Yeah.
So, gets ko kung bakit sila may D-League. But, when you're talking about D-League, tayo lang din yung isa pang meron.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Guys, correct me if I'm wrong. My Googling might not have been enough, but that makes sense. Kasi nga, esports is still growing. So now, the only real point of comparison is other sports.
Yep.
So, we'll talk about some other D-Leagues here. We talked about this off the air.
Yeah.
You mentioned the PSL.
Yep.
You mentioned the MPBL. And you mentioned the PBA D-League. These are local D-Leagues. How do they work?
I mean, when you think about it, specifically para sa MPBL and PSL, like, they gather players that are usually galing dun sa team na nire-represent nila. Halimbawa, if there's a team called like the Bicol Volcanoes, for example, they get the players specifically from Bicol.
Is that for PSL?
So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Volleyball yun.
PSL is for volleyball. And then there's the D-League, of course. And then there's MPBL right over there at the very corner.
Okay.
And then, as we take a look at it, halo-halo din yung mga nagiging players dito eh. There's like ex-pros na nagmula or nanggaling sa PBA. And then there's also some other people that are, or other players rather, that came from universities and colleges.
Collegiate.
Yeah,
Okay.
na parang dun muna sila susubok kung kaya ba nila makipagsabayan. And then, once they get the portfolio necessary, once they finally have like a mixtape, not necessarily a mixtape, but like several documents that would show stats,
Like
right?
a demo reel.
Right? Something like that. And then parang makikita mo na kagad na andun yung aabot sa point na, okay, kaya ko na. And then, automatically, they'll go into the draft. There are some people na kahit matanda na sila or like, they're reaching at least, because I think the peak age or your prime for basketball is around 27 or 28. And then, you're considered old if you go 30 and up. So, this is an opportunity for them to show na parang kaya pa rin. That's why, in the States, there's a league that we call the G League, and then there's still some people who's getting 10-day contracts kasi kaya pa nilang makipagsabayan.
Did you say 10-day contracts?
Yeah, there's a thing, right? So like 10 days you're gonna be part of the team. You're gonna be technically para kang MDL na in MPL, but just for 1 week.
May ganon?
Yeah.
Okay. And this is under the G League?
Yeah.
Okay.
Over in the States.
Locally, wala pa niyan?
Locally, wala pa. Yes.
Okay. Alright. So, I have a general understanding of how these D-Leagues work. And the way you put it, parang PBA D-League yung closest to what the MDL is.
Yeah.
Kasi yun yung parang may direct relationship to the franchises running.
Right.
How do the importing rules work? Or not importing, transfer rules work? Meron bang transfer rules?
There are actually a lot of transfer rules. Technically, pwede silang kumuha.
Long and short,
Yeah, pwede silang kumuha ng kahit sinong local. Halimbawa, if you're from Bicol, for example, and they want to transfer you to Gensan whatsoever, it's fine as long as you're Filipino. But if we're talking about an import, there's
some
only
imports play in the D-League
limited.
also?
Yeah.
Okay.
There are imports that are playing in D-League, specifically if there's a school, probably CEU, na doon kinukuha yung mga pinakamalalakas na imports, and then they get sent to UAAP based on their performance.
Okay.
So parang yun yung proving ground nila.
Alright.
Na,
So,
okay, kaya pala.
so D-League has a relationship not only with the PBA,
Yeah.
but also with collegiate.
Because again, doon mo makikita yung mga collegiate and players from the universities na either freshman pa lang, sophomore pa lang, meron pang eligible years, kumbaga.
So, this falls in line with the way MDL is now,
Yeah.
wherein players like Dudut can be in school and play in the MDL.
Right.
So, ganun din sa D-League.
Yeah.
May mga parang, again, ano ba yun? The way I understand it is, they're also a student while in the D-League.
Yeah.
So, can they also still play for their schools at the time?
Yeah. They can definitely play. They're under a different name kasi syempre it's gonna be based on who funds you, but at the same time, once na nandun ka na, you're nakakabit pa rin yung pangalan mo eh.
Okay.
Attached with the name of the team itself. So parang
Ayun.
andun pa rin, pasok pa rin siya.
Okay, so isn't that the dream, right? Isn't that how we hope the MDL
Yeah.
and the different parts of the MLBB esports ecosystem work in the future?
Yeah.
Kasi it's safe to say, MLBB is the closest we can get to Filipino basketball.
Yep.
Na sobrang developed niya, and sobrang daming fans, and sobrang daming players na parang, yeah, that can definitely be a path na parang pwede nating buuin yan. And I think that's where, again, things like PBA Esports Bakbakan come into play. Na
Yep.
parang, okay, other parts of the entertainment world or sports world wanna come in too. Now, this brings us to the future of the MDL. Like, what else can the MDL achieve? And what else do we want to see from the MDL in, say, the next couple of years? Kasi yun yung isang dream, right? Like, the
Yeah.
way you put it,
Yeah.
what if the MDL had relationships with collegiate?
Yeah.
Di ba? Parang, ano kaya yun?
Honestly, that's a very good insight. Kasi, di ba, doon din natin sila, masasaksihan din natin sila makikita in terms of playstyle. Another thing that I would also like to point out, of course, ito rin yung hiling ng napakaraming mga fans, either to increase the teams na makikita rin natin for longer weeks of the MDL,
More
just
slots.
to give, more slots, more opportunities for the players. And then imagine if there was a draft. Like, right? Parang, Game Lab, since they're like the top one, they're gonna be picking last.
Logo right here.
Right?
There you go.
Yeah.
For the MDL.
Yeah, and then they're gonna be picking last. And then all of a sudden, whoever gets the least amount of points in the standings will get to pick first. And doon na papasok yung scouting level. Doon na papasok yung moments for them to like actually think na ano ba yung kailangan natin. We've been talking about this off air. Parang ano yung kailangan natin? Mid laner ba? Gold laner ba? And that is where it will boil in. But again, since merong mga teams na will really try and revolve their play style around 5 players alone, dun ngayon papasok yung kailangan nilang ilaban yung spot nila. So
Yeah.
that is something that always happens around the whether esports or traditional sports.
Yeah. More on the MDL now, where we're not in MPL territory quite yet.
Yep.
I think the draft is something that can happen soon. Like, ewan ko lang kung yung sistema maipapasok natin in the next year or so.
Yeah.
Kasi this is season 1, right?
Yeah.
If by season 2, the goal is to grow it in terms of slots, maybe go up to 12.
Yep.
Kasi we're not even at MDL-ID territory yet.
Yeah.
Kasi ano ba yun? 14 na yata sila ngayon eh.
16, dude.
Oh, di ba?
That's a
So,
lot.
if by next season we're at 12, who's to say season 3 or season 4, ma-integrate yung drafting?
Right?
Kasi, I'm not sure if MDL or ID is at that level yet, pero sobrang importante nun eh. I think sobrang
That's true.
cool nung aspect of drafting because we've seen it in the likes of local franchise esports like the Nationals.
Yep.
Doon may draft sila. Now, how successful that is or how long-term and sustainable that could have been,
Yep.
I'm not sure. Currently, the Nationals isn't operating.
Yeah.
But what if we do that in the realm of MLBB alone, like MPL and MDL?
Yeah, and nagkaroon tayo ng glimpse niyan when we did analysis sa PBA Esports Bakbakan, right? We became analysts during that
Kasi
time.
may draft yun.
Again, we were very surprised na may mga times na, uy, kilala natin to, bakit hindi pa siya napipick? So, there's like the sort of excitement that also boils down with you prioritizing kung sino ba yung dapat mong piliin.
Yep. And it doesn't even have to be super major draft like the
Yeah.
way PBA Esports Bakbakan did it na parang build from 0 to 7 or 0 to 8.
May established na eh.
Yeah, you can go like, oh, ito yung main 5 namin, ito yung pool. Let's draft 3 more
Yeah,
each.
right?
And that'll affect competition. That'll affect the market of players. So ayun, I think magandang wishlist yun. For me, collegiate lang. Like, I'm okay with that. Academe, PBA Esports Bakbakan did that
Yep.
too. So again, there's a lot already set. I think eventually the growth will also take off. Pero yun, one step at a time.
Yeah.
So if by season 2, more slots, maybe season 3, season 4, oh yeah, let's build on the next few down the line.
Slowly but surely.
Next up, we will be talking about MPL Philippines. Ayan, Sona and I were present during the last week of broadcast. We'll be showing the results down here. Yan. Were you there Friday? Yes!
Yeah.
You were Mr. Backstage Man on
Yeah,
Friday.
I was Mr. Backstage.
And you casted Sunday.
Yeah.
Okay, talk to me about it. Anong mga moments mo? Ano man naalala mo from week 8?
Week 8, specifically like Friday alone, I usually talk to players or coaches during these times, pero nung Friday wala talaga akong makakausap because everyone was really looking for points.
Tense,
Everybody
tense.
was so tense, everybody was so serious, and they were really looking for the necessary points. I mean, even Bren is already secured of the upper bracket spot that time, pero hindi ko pa rin sila makakausap. Bakit? Sino yung kalaban nila? It's Blacklist International that are really taking them very seriously. So I'm not surprised with that situation. And then, skip Saturday, because again, Saturday triple header, of course, there's a lot of matches still. But when I reached Sunday, that is where we were mind-boggled. Because again, dito mo mapapatunayan sa MPL Philippines na anybody can beat anybody. Pag nilagay mo yung kahit top 8 or top 7 team natin sa ibang bansa, they cannot perform any single one there. And yung mga series or yung mga matches na nakita natin, especially during week 8, can attest to that.
Yep. And one of those matches that you're talking about, yung
Yeah.
either 7th or 8th seed natin, kayang-kaya mambalagbag elsewhere. That's how you can tell, mainly because Next Play Evos gave Blacks International one hell of a series.
Yep.
And that's one of our headlines here tonight. We'll put up some clips of that right here because Blacklist had a difficult week. Let's just say,
Yeah.
let's put it at that. Understatement yon because they first were swept by Bren Esports. Kaya rin naman siguro hindi mo nakausap yung Bren kasi they were preparing.
They're preparing, dude.
And indeed they did. They swept Blacklist 0-2 or 2-0. And then yung next series ng Blacklist from there was Next Play Evos. They reverse swept
Yeah.
Blacklist International. We'll have some clips of Bren's victory here first. Let's talk about that. You were the backstage man for this.
Yep. And honestly, ito yung isa sa mga pinakamalinis na games talaga ng Bren Esports.
That's right.
And we've seen them time and time again to actually dominate it, at least tapusin yung laro around 12 to 15 minutes. But at the same time, kung titignan mo rin kasi ng mabuti, parang sobrang established na ng squad na to na parang there's nothing that would really change them, na parang meron pa mga times, especially in the preseason, kung saan pinagdudaan pa sila na how do they manage to get C-ball? How do they get to manage to represent the national team?
This
Pero
is how.
ngayon, this is how. Like every single week, in and out, pinapakita nila kung bakit. They defeated, the M3 World Champions in such dominating fashion, and I believe ang laki ng naitulong dito ng addition sa coaching staff.
That's right.
Because again, you have Coach Ducky, who's literally the brain.
Coach V.
And then there's Coach V.
Coach V.
Literally a good guy to have on your side. Kasi parang siya yung konsensya mo na, uy, parang mali yan. Parang hindi yan yung dapat nating i-pick. And then, it just works.
And speaking of Coach V, drafting-wise, dito talagang, I don't know, man, namate ng Bren Esports and Blacklist.
Right?
And this is where you're seeing, man, Blacklist might actually be sticking to their guns a little too much.
Yeah.
They might be too comfortable with their picks. And at least, ito, just as an agent, ito yung pampalubag-loob. At least, nalaman niya na nakita yan here, regular season. Not in the playoffs. At least, hindi ka sa playoffs sinabihang, that wasn't a good draft. At least now pa lang, makita mong, you gotta fix that before playoffs.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Speaking of which, let's look at the clips of Blacklist against Next Play. Because Next Play, starting game 2, biglang, it changed the landscape. It shifted the way we understand this matchup. Game 2 yata lumabas yung Selena and Cho.
Yeah.
That was ridiculous. We will have some clips play out here.
Again, especially now with Next Play Evos, parang gusto kasi nilang lumabas ng MPL Season 11 ng may swag na meron pa rin angas. So that is exactly what they did for, the very second game of this series kung saan gumamit nga sila ng Cho and Selena. Something that we don't really see very often. Pero nagtataka rin kami while we were on the Filipino broadcast na parang sabi namin, bakit ngayon lang? Sayang, kasi alam namin na action yung ipapakita nila. Dapat umaksyon na sila nung week 1 pa lang. Maybe this is also something for, on the other hand, Blacklist International to prepare about. Kasi parang nagulat sila dun sa drafting. Nagulat sila na, napapagana pala nila to. And it's something na kailangan din nilang pagtuunan ng pansin. They need to check all of their bases. And at the same time, ano lang naman yun either or. It's either you fortify what you have. We've seen them, evolve Ube to Uube, like the Faramis Estes combo, or they get to, do something a little different. Like, nakita natin sila from before na, I believe, gumamit si Wise ng, honestly, si Wise talaga yung trendsetter in terms of the tank junglers. So, parang, dun mo lang na-explore kung ano yung pupwede. Dun lang na-explore din ng ibang teams kung ano yung pupwede.
Yung limits.
You just have to use your trump card at the best time. Huwag mong ilalatag agad.
And that's another silver lining for Blacks International.
Yeah.
Kasi meron pang timing.
Yeah.
Meron pa, and that's not to say that it's just here in round 1 of the playoffs. We'll talk more about that later. Kasi kung makaangat nga sila, kung gapang sila, then there's more time there, right? So, that's Blacklist International. Again, as it stands, here's one response to the community, right? Like, if you're a member of MLBBPH.net, you know what this is. It's that Facebook group that has everybody in it.
Yeah.
May tanong They're like, pag natalo yung Blacklist, bakit Blacklist pa rin yung pinag-uusapan? Di ba dapat pag-usapan yung nanalo?
Yeah.
And here in the recent events, bakit hindi na-explain winning ang pinag-usapan natin? Here's why. Because Blacklist is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
We're talking about Blacklist's loss because there's still more for them that we can see.
Yeah.
Kaya pa nating himayin yung sitwasyon, and then there's still room for them to solve it.
That's true.
And it's not like we're downplaying Next Play winning. Next Play was winning is an amazing thing.
Yeah.
That's why there's highlights. That's why there's clips. But again, I think this is just to answer all the people wondering, bakit kapag ganyan? It's because there's
Meron
still
pa.
Yun nga
Kasi meron pa.
Yun lang.
Andiyan pa sila. That is very much true. Again, amazing display coming in from Next Play Evos. Pero Blacklist International kasi andyan pa sila Technically, there's still something that we can see from them. Parang yun yung abangan factor na will they actually change something? Sa lahat ba ng mga speculations ng mga tao na nandun sa group, will they actually do something, change it, fortify it, whatsoever? That's probably the answer to like why they're still being talked about.
It's like, why is nobody talking about maalaala mo kaya? It's because there's no maalaala mo kaya, bro! People talk, what's on TV these days? I don't know. Exactly, di ba? So, why? Yun lang, di ba? Like, yun lang. Kasi, as much as I'd love to talk Next Play Evos all day, we can only really say what's new with them in the next season. Kasi doon na natin sila makikita ulit.
Yeah.
So now, people are talking about Blacklist because they're literally coming up again round 1.
And again, it's a very good note na aalis yung next play-ibus na season 11 na may panalo sila.
That's right.
At least, kahit na, alam mo yun, it was a very uphill battle para sa kanila all throughout the season.
Roller
Yung
coaster.
katangi-tanging panalo na maaalala ng mga next play-ibus fans from them is that very last win.
Yep.
So, you don't really want to, get it away from them na parang, ito yung moment namin eh. Ito yung
Yes.
moment na kailangan abangan nyo pa rin kami.
Alalahan lang natin as is. Like, they won.
Right?
Let's see what they bring next season.
Right.
All right? So, that's the whole blacklist situation. Let's talk about Onic. All right? The second highlight we want to bring up here is Onic Philippines closing up season 11, week 8, by sweeping Bren Esports. We have one of their highlight plays here. And dito pa lang sa moment pa lang na to parang, this is what, game 2. Game 2 to. And I'm like, this is something else. Where was this Onic?
Right? Parang nanumbalik yung pre-season, yung season 10 first half ng Onic. Kasi ito yung literal na ginugulat nila kahit sinong makalaban nila nung season 10 eh. Wala silang kinakatakutan during that time. And it really boiled down sa parang, will they have enough bullets in a gunfight? Parang yun yung naging tanong sa kanila nung season 10 na unfortunately naubusan sila going up against RSG Philippines during that time in the playoffs. Pero ngayon, ultimate deja vu moment, RSG na naman yung kalaban nila. And what a way to end the regular season. Kasi yung tinalo nila, hindi lang naman basta-basta. It's a top 1 Bren Esports na, again, kaya nga wala akong nakausap nung Friday kasi nagsiseryoso sila. They're taking every single player seriously or team seriously. And then when it reached Onic Philippines, I do believe na nandun pa rin yung seriousness, nandun pa rin yung eagerness to win. And then Onic Philippines just, turned the switch on.
There's no explanation for it. It's
Right?
honestly more of, hindi naman minawala Nahirapan lang kami, pero kami pa rin yun. And that brings us to my juicy moment of the week.
Yep.
This is, I believe, from game 2. Direct play natin yon. And, Sona, watch this. You were no, you're not backstage man. You're desk man.
Oh.
No, this is game 2. This is
game 2.
This is day 2 of week 8. Check this out. This is the second wipeout. Okay? Look at how clean this engagement was. I could have sworn Keke I was gonna die here. Pero nung pinadiran ni Ryota, tapos flicker pa!
Goodness.
And then eventually, baala pa nga ni Nets ang tumapos. Watch Nets from the lower left corner. Look at how in the zone this young man is. You know kung gaano kalinis yung Onic maglaro dito sa series na to?
Bro's dancing!
He was like, hey. Diba? That's the second wipeout in that series, or in that game.
Wow. Parang walang ka-pressure yung nakita ko kay Nets from what I've seen.
That's juicy.
Yeah. And at the same time, parang naging katanungan din sa akin yung, of course, everybody else, especially from the Sonic family, kung kailan ba natin makikita yung time na magsi-step up yung ibang mga members. Like, yun yung tanong ng karamihan eh. Like, we're always headlining Super Friends from last season. We're always headlining Ryota. Pero this time, nakikita natin na parang, this is the reason why Ryota is, the 6th man for SEA Games. This is the reason why Kekedot is still here. Kasi siya, nag-MVP siya nung game na yun eh. Nakita natin yung potential niya to actually make a lot of plays for the team. And at the same time, let's not, discount the fact that Sunsui is still there.
Yeah.
Sunsui is basically a god in the jungle. Once na, parang lahat nga eh. There's a meme na lahat ng button sa phone niya, retribution.
Speaking of which, what's up to Coach Jeff of Onic Arsenals.
Yo!
Yeah, it's Coach J. Jeff. Also, Season 10 Onic.
Yeah.
He's Onic Philippines.
Season 10.
Nandiyan din si Dylan, MJ, Rice. Hi, Lavi. We'll check the Dark League Studios chat as well. But, yeah, no, now that you mention it, Onic-PH lineup are all-stars. You mentioned na kaya rin pala ni Keke kasi nga MVP siya doon.
Right.
Super Friends, I never, for a single second, doubted Super Friends.
Never doubt Super Friends.
Sensui, tama, one of the greatest retri duelists in the
There
game.
was a time na siya yung leader sa
Lord
objective
takes.
takes.
Yeah, number
Lord
one,
Takes,
right?
Yeah.
And then you have Nets na parang mix ni Kelra at Benny at the best times.
Nets is a backdoor king.
Diba? May pagka-Benny.
He just knows.
Tapos may pagka-Kelra na parang, forward ako, diba? Kaya mo to, kaya mo to. And then, of course, Ryota, one of the most stable XP laners of his time, even today. Kasi nga, kung kaya mo makipagpalitan kay Dilar, then that's it. You prove yourself.
Yeah.
So, again, that brings us to our final bit for MPL Philippines here tonight's show. So how about the brackets?
Alright.
Na-preview na natin eh. We talked about how Onyx RSG is gonna happen again. We talked about how Blacklist has more chances to unveil what they might be working on and fixing the things that they stumbled upon in the previous weeks. Let's talk about that. This is a rivalry rematch. Yung opening match natin, Blacklist versus Omega. Ilang taon na nag-aaway itong dalawang to?
Oh my goodness. The last time we saw these two teams battle it out in the playoffs was not even Season 10, not even Season 9, Season 8 pa. Lower bracket finals natin sila nakita and Blacklist International won over there 3-1. Pero this time, I should say na teritoryo to ng Omega.
Oh.
Ever since the start na nagkaroon tayo ng play-in sa installment, never pang nalagay dyan ang Blacklist International. They're always getting the upper bracket. Sila yung madalas na nasa pwesto ng either Bren or Echo.
So, you're saying that this is this is an advantage for Omega because this is foreign territory for Blacklist.
Yeah. Kasi this is the first time that they're here. Pag matalo sila ng upper bracket, there's still time to regroup. There's still time to change.
Pero
right?
ngayon, gapang starts now.
Gapang starts now.
Alright.
And it's fortunate for either of the two teams na meron pa silang 2 weeks to prepare because again, this is a very crucial matchup para sa kanila. They need to have a balance of having those bullets being thrown out to the opponents while also preserving kung sakali na sila yung pumasok. Because again, sila yung unang magpapakitang gilas. And again, Blacklist International chose Omega to be their, opponents against or over Onyx Philippines.
Pwede namang Onyx eh.
Diba? Pwede namang Onyx. But again, they chose Omega because there's probably a familiarity setting there.
Yeah.
Right? That's something that
Alright.
I think is really playing in.
Although, if you ask ask 10 people, 9 out of 10 will say that's ridiculous. 9 out of 10 will say, you don't pick Omega. Pero, hindi eh. Kasi if you're gonna look at Season 10, Bren knocked out Omega.
Yeah.
Diba? And that's where I made a mistake in my prediccy. So, ewan ko lang, ang hirap basahin itong situation na to.
But again, there were times where Omega has defeated a super team in the play-ins. We were talking about Echo before.
You're right. Yun yung init nila ngayon eh.
Right?
And that's what Omega's hedging on right now. Omega wants to make it to the next round so that the whole Kel Rayawi thing can come through.
Unfortunately, Bren yung makakuha.
Ay!
Usap nila next round.
Legit? Tama!
So
ang layo pa!
They need to win 2 matches and hopefully Echo wins 1 for the dream match to happen.
You're right. Okay, let's see the brackets again.
So it's a long shot, right? But it's possible.
So, delayed gratification. You're right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right?
Let's talk about that next matchup. RSG Slate Philippines versus Onyx. Who chose this? Was it Bren who chose this latag down there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's Bren choosing whether Blacklist or RSG yung makikita nila sa 3rd or 4th spot, and they chose Blacklist International. RSG, again, has had the potential from before to defeat Bren, but unfortunately, Bren is really just too strong. And siguro na ilatag na rin nila yung parang opportunity for RSG to bring down Echo kung sakali na sila yung manalo. Because from last season,
You're right.
RSG or Echo ang naglaglag sa RSG na kamunti ka na silang makapunta sa M4 for the very first time. Makapunta sa M World Championships for the first time. Meanwhile, Onyx, this is the same scenario for them pero may bit-bit na silang experience.
Pwede na silang sabihin dito, not again.
Right? Like, yung sweep nila, of course, there were darker times for during the playoffs ng Season 10 na parang, oh my goodness, we got swept 3-0 by RSG. And RSG during that time, Season 9, they were champions, they were very much hot. Pero ngayon, Onyx Philippines, pwede silang bumangko dun sa huling pagkapanalo nila.
Yep.
Pwede silang bumangko dun sa pwede silang bumangko dun sa momentum na meron sila. Meanwhile, RSG, parang meron pa silang strategy na ma-figure out dito eh. Kasi,
Maybe. Marami silang pyesa kasi they have the
Right?
whole Irad H2 situation. Right? And I think both teams have a gambit of sorts. Yung Onyx, pwede nilang idiin yung fact na RSG is recovering. RSG is figuring something out.
Yeah.
While RSG, they can play with that diversity. Pwede nilang gulatin. Pwede nilang lasunin yung Onyx. Which, I think is something that I failed to mention earlier. I believe Onyx is this season's last one. Sila ang last Onyx.
Ooh.
Last Sonic.
Sonic.
Kasi we talked about this on a guest coin weeks back here on the show nung kasama ko si Brigida and si Antianara. But then, I have to admit, si Brig lang naniwala. This is before we were gonna find out that they could sweep Bren.
Yeah.
So,
It's okay, King. You know, people make mistakes.
So apparently, si Brig lang ang may alam. Brig understood the situation. Auntie and I, we doubted the Hedgehogs.
So the question is, can they deliver, especially in the playoffs?
Can they last on RSG?
Right?
And then can they last on other people along the way?
So solidify na sila yung bagong lason. Kasi again, there's meron tayong dalawang potential lason na nasa play-in.
Of course.
Right? The newly established lason, which is Onyx, and then, of course, who would...
The classic.
The classic lason. Everybody knows the Poison. Pero, given that the Poison is already there for like quite some time already, will there be an antidote once again?
Yes, kasi may antidote na yung Omega eh.
Right?
We've proven that. Bren neutralized them last season. Now it's Onyx.
And that has been their goal from before. Diba? Na parang, sabi ni Coach Dak, gusto lang namin maging lunas dun sa lason
Yep.
from the playoffs last season.
And they did more than that.
Yeah. They reached top 4.
Yeah, top 4 and then what? 9 months later, give or take, how long has it been? 6 months? 9 months?
Yeah.
They're top seed. They're C-ball right now. They're top of the world as far as I'm concerned. So that's a little bit of a preview as for what might happen in the playoffs.
Yep.
More on that later on. We have one more recall show before MPL-PH playoffs. But for now, before we wrap up the show, let's close up with some guest coin. This is a classic favorite, no? Classic na, favorite pa. Nakailang guest coin releases on in his day. So this is his first in a while. Let's start off with a MDL statement. All right, you know the rules. Buy or sell, same pa rin. Okay? Let's talk about MDL.
Bring it.
We're gonna see plenty of sweeps in the MDL playoffs. Buy or sell. Wait lang. Let's show the brackets muna para lang ma-refresh tayo.
Okay.
Yan.
Para makita natin.
May mga
Ano yung pasok?
sweeps ba dito? Madami bang sweeps? Well, let's say majority of the sweeps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 matches, right?
Yeah.
3 out of 5 ba dyan magkaka-sweep?
Oh, no. I'm a huge sell for
Hard
this
sell.
one. Hard sell.
Okay.
Hard sell. Like, Bren, Euphoria, Smart, Omega, Neos. These two teams have been, like, fighting each other ever since the beginning of time. Umabot nga sa point na yung, of course, Group B, Smart, Omega, and Bren were safe. Pero etong sa Group A, RSG and Blacklist International, umabot sa point na yung number 2 seed hanggang sa number 5 seed at the very last week of MDL Season 1, naglalaban-laban pa rin sa spot. And I would be very surprised kapag nagkaroon ng sweep for the first round. Kasi for the whole scenario of the play-ins, hard sell.
Okay. Sige.
Hard
Direct
sell.
Chess says sell. You know what? Allow me to practice my prediction. Flex it.
Okay.
Buy. When we say majority or plenty of sweeps in the MDL playoffs, that means, again, 3 out of 5. I think at least 3 out of these 5 matches that's gonna happen starting tomorrow will be a sweep. May mga 0 dito.
Okay.
I think the break and the lead-up time will allow some teams to get really warmed up. and to really practice. Tapos may mga iba na mabigla.
Yeah.
And then dun mangyayari yung sweep.
I think it's especially because of the fact na walang lower bracket dito.
Yes.
Pag tanggal ka na talaga. Or
Yes,
pag natalo ka, tanggal ka na talaga.
So yung bigla factor, I think, is
Yeah.
going to be a major factor.
Yeah.
And that's why I think at least 3 out of the 5 will be a sweep. Rayash says sell. I don't think one team is as dominant
Yeah,
as
Rayash,
the others.
yeah.
So I get it. I understand that completely. Pero yun nga eh, kasi may BO3 dito eh.
Yep.
Kung hindi to BO3 and may potential reverse sweeps out of a 5, likely. Pero yun nga eh, naniniwala talaga ako meron dito magbibigla.
BO3 kasi.
Oo.
Yeah.
So that's just my bit. You guys can buy and sell and explain, no? Kung gusto niyo humabol pa, say sell, MDL buy because of the next statements, go lang, alright? We'll go to the next statement here. This one is about more of the meta as a whole, specifically from week 8 of MPL-PH. Jungle Joy is greater than XP Joy. Alright, we've seen a lot of Jungle Joy in the past week. Buy or sell, automatically sell. Ayaw.
I hate Jungle Joy, bro.
Don't like.
I hate Jungle Joy.
Bakit? It does good, it does things. Cool siya
but-
tignan, parang ganun siya.
Yeah, but like, when you're faced up against, you know, some sort of assassins, like, I believe pros can do it very well.
Pro, okay.
But when you go to ranked games and
Okay.
play Joy, it's very difficult to pull off.
So sell ka for the sake of your ranked game experience.
Yeah. Sell for the sake of ranked game experience. And I do believe na XP Joy is very more versatile. Na parang just having the Joy enough is versatility in itself, right? Kasi meron kang options to go for the jungle or to go for the XP. Minsan nga mas gusto ko pa yung Joy mid eh.
Whoa!
Although, we don't see a lot of that anymore.
Hold your, whoa.
Yeah, right?
Take it easy. For the sake of my ranked game experience, don't. Marcos says buy.
Alright.
And, you know what? For the sake of, again, my ranked game experience, I'll say buy as well. Kasi ang sarap bully ng Joy. Sa totoo
Okay.
lang, when I'm a Fred, or I'm a Martis, or, ano ba? Kasi sa totoo lang, ang sarap bully.
Okay.
Di ba? So just, sabi ni Direct Chess, sell. Kasi mobility-wise.
Right?
Yes, you're mobile when you're fighting, pero ang hirap maging significantly impactful as a Joy.
Yeah.
XP, yes, because you're gonna cut through the back like a YZ.
Yeah.
Diba? Pero as a jungler, you need more.
Yeah.
Vince G says sell.
Yeah, sellers.
So, again, you can buy and sell for many different reasons eh. Which is why I think the hero is so good in both.
Yeah.
So may rason kung bakit good siya and flex siya.
Tama.
Right? So we will clear the board here. Buy and sell na lang sa chat, guys. Habol kayo. Let's go to statement number 3. This one's hot. This one's specifically for the Raiders out there. Erad and H2 will swap mid-series. You're gonna see them in action during the second match of the playoffs. Day 1. Onyx versus RSG. Now, naging very transparent si Coach Panda dito. He talked about how his process or their process of the Erad H2 situation is like. Now, buy or sell. Will we see a mid-series swap between these two junglers?
I think it's gonna be a buy for me. Like, there will be a swap mid-series. Kasi this is a best-of-5 series for the very first play-in round na makikita natin. So, there's still some time. Although, parang meron lang na difficulty with doing that once na you're 2 games behind. Kasi parang paano ka mag-a-adjust, tas medyo tense na yung ibang mga players na makakasama mo dun sa pinalitan mo if you're either Erad or H2. So, at this point, it's a buy, pero merong consequences. Still, it's a buy for me.
Okay, you just want to see it.
Yeah, I just want to see it.
Just for some context, the last time we saw H2 in the playoffs was season 9.
Yeah.
And he was also swapped mid-series, if you remember that.
MP.
Right?
Yeah.
So, for the sake of my man John Paul, and also for Erad, like, just for RSG slate as a whole, I like to sell. I'd like for them to enter the playoffs with a game plan, and if against Onyx, ma-decision na nilang, no, we just need one type of jungler. We need the selfish assassin, or we need the very giving, team-centric utility.
Yeah.
Pili kayo isa. I want that to be their direction if it's possible. I'm very selfish. Pero for the sake of their success, yun yung nakita kong direction. Respectfully, like that's my opinion. Vince G says sell. So, yun nga eh. Delikado kasi itong mid-series swap eh. That's where we're coming from
Huge
here.
risk. And also, kung titignan mo na mabuti, si H2O kasi parang, kapag nilaro mo siya ng buo, it's an opportunity for him to like explore kung ano pa yung hindi pa nila ginagamit ng regular season. Meanwhile, if you use Irad for the whole season or for the whole series, there's not a lot of information with Irad just yet sa MPL. So, pwede nilang gamitin yun against Onyx for the first round.
Yep. So, yun lang. This is one of the hotter statements, which I think we can only really see the result of, or pwede natin ma-prove after that match happens. So, again, we wish RSG Slate PH all the luck.
Hindi pa tayo nagkakasundo, no?
Not yet, actually. You're right. Not because binabantayan ko yan. It's just because, wala, ganun talaga yung statements eh. Let's go on to our next statement here. Let's clear the board direct and move on to our next statement. This one is more for the near future. We're talking about the teams that did not make the playoffs in Season 11. Can we expect massive changes for TNC and Next Play EVOS in Season 12? Buy or sell?
I wouldn't say massive, pero change, yes. So I will buy.
Okay. What kind of change?
Change for NXPE to either add some players, not really change the main five, just add some players. And then for TNC, meron sila mga i-retain na players that would be really helpful. I feel like if I were TNC, I would retain King Kong. King Kong is a guy that is very strong and he kept TNC afloat, especially during the times na nalulugi sila sa team fights. So, I have a huge vouch for the guy. Anyone from TNC, if you're watching.
Okay, I'd like to second that. So that's a buy for you.
Yeah.
In specific ways for both teams. I have to admit, I also really like King Kong now.
Yeah.
Alam mo to,
Yeah.
backstage.
Respect King Kong.
I was a big King Kong hater and doubter the first few weeks. Like, sabi ko, King Kong, ba't ka ganyan maglaro? And I'm saying this out now, right?
Yeah.
So, King Kong, kung nanonood ka, I think friends kami ni King Kong sa Facebook eh.
Yeah.
Pero never ko pa siya nakausap.
Mr. Perez.
Oo. Sabi ko, King Kong, ba't ka ganyan nung first week?
Yeah.
Pero nung umaandar na yung guy tagumpay.
Leo, watch me.
Oo, like, King Kong, sorry, pero now I'm a believer. Legit. Like his haya, from week 1 up until, week 5, 6?
Yeah.
I could have sworn, ibang tao yung naglalaro.
Oh my goodness.
Diba? So I believe in King Kong for sure. But just the same, Hesu. Kung meron silang i-keep dapat, like, you do not let... if I had to say, kung sinong dapat hindi i-let go ng TNC, siyempre, andyan na si Ben, of course. Andyan si... if your pick is King Kong, my personal pick, na parang, I want to explain it. Like, I don't have to. Is freaking Hesu. Hesu is a star. Like, that kid has star written all over him.
Like, pag itapat mo lang yung camera sa kanya, ano yung gagawin
Hindi
niya?
niya alam tumingin sa cam. Let's say, ito yung cam, di ba? Ganyan. Alam niya na eh.
Normal lang yun.
So, again, walking content machine si Hesu. But yeah, just to answer this, buy or sell, I like to say buy. Oh, nag-agree na tayo. Pow! Because for TNC, I think they're gonna keep it lean again. I'm gonna make some predictions here. TNC is gonna go back to being a lean lineup. They're gonna go down to a 7-8-man lineup, max. And then, for next play EVOS, I'm expecting revamp. Like, massive revamp. And I'm not even talking about players. Player-wise, I think they're gonna retain a majority. It's still gonna be the same parang amateur scene slayers.
Yeah.
Pero I expect a massive revamp for next play EVOS. What that means, tanong nyo na si Banubs. Tanong nyo na lang yung management. But I expect a revamp. And I think Season 12 is gonna look very different for these two teams.
Yep.
We'll leave it at that. Again, there's only so much we know because, again, we're not even done with Season 11 playoffs. So, abangan nyo na lang. But yeah, it's a buy and buy for us here. And last but not least, Reash says, buy for TNC, sell down for next play EVOS. Feeling ko baliktad eh. Feeling ko next play EVOS ngayon mas marami. But anyways, last statement for tonight's show on Guest Coin. More imports in 2023. Buy or sell? You can bring out your wallet?
Yeah, dude.
You're gonna buy it legit? You have different,
Bro, take my money, bro.
You have different
Take
currency.
my money. It's a buy. It's a
Dude,
buy.
OG si Sona, dude, may barya yung wallet niya, dude. Is that barya?
Yeah.
Susi.
Oh, it's coins.
Okay, so he's buying. He's actually putting his money where his mouth is. Why though?
I mean, sino yung first place again sa MSC? Anong bansa?
Onic.
Hindi, I mean
when?
sa MSC last year.
MSC last year,
Sino yung
PH.
champion? Okay.
PH.
Sa
4-0.
M4, sino?
PH. 4-0 din, pero
Do I like you
yun.
to say more?
You're right. Okay.
Here.
Thank you.
This is for the first import,
Bayad po.
the second import,
Third.
and then the third,
Thank
the
you.
fourth.
More. Thank you. You know what? There's Filipinos everywhere. There's Filipinos everywhere, right?
Yeah, but take my money.
There was a Filipino in the MPL-SG Grand Finals.
There's a Filipino in MPL MENA.
That's right. That's right. There is a Filipino in...
NACT.
That's right.
Right?
That's right. There's a Filipino in the top 3 teams in NACT.
Right?
Yeah. Ackerman has Zia. The Ohio Bros has
Basic.
And
Wait lang,
BTK
yeah,
has
yeah.
Joy Bodge. Right? So there's a Filipino everywhere. So this is something that I talked about earlier on this year.
Yeah.
Sabi ko, yes, there are going to be more imports, pero hindi siya magiging exodus. Kasi yung, pag sinabi mo kasing exodus levels, ibig sabihin nun, mas madami ng imports, tapos mahihirapan yung local scene na mag-grow. Pero hindi. I think we're fine.
Balanced,
Kasi
yeah.
if you're gonna look at the imports we have now, some of them came straight from the amateurs.
Yeah.
Cram God never made it to the MPL.
Yeah.
Pero biglang kinuha siya elsewhere. And not to mention, the homies we have in MPL-MY. There's so many Filipino
Right.
imports there. Big J is in MY.
Yeah. King Salman is also there playing.
That's right. But Team Secret didn't have a great season. But again, regardless, Santi was there too. Santi Sucre.
Santi Sucre.
So, okay. I'd like to buy also, but with a caveat. Gusto ko lang maglagay ng asterisk. Sana hindi mag-burst yung bubble. Sana hindi ma-saturate. I hope the fact that you're an PH import still becomes... Sana hindi dumating yung point na parang people are bending the import rules just so that they can have Filipinos in the team.
Yeah.
Yun lang.
That's true.
Kasi scary nun yung parang lalaroin mo pa parang, yeah, technically no, there's more Filipinos. Kasi that happened with the whole Todak situation.
Yeah.
Remember when Todak MY or Todak was doing their reveals? The first 3 reveals were Pinoy! So, ganun lang. Gusto ko lang ma-maintain yung fact na we're still that injection,
Yeah.
pero we're not taking over. Proud pa rin naman ako, di ba? Pero ayoko lang yung... Kasi, dude, what if it gets saturated?
Come on, other, countries. Step up, guys. Come on.
Bootcamp in the PH. Yun yung next kong step. After this, when there becomes too many PH imports,
Yeah.
and it's bordering beyond meme level, just bootcamp in the PH.
Yeah. You go here.
Spend a month here and then see
Yeah.
what makes the PH server the
Yeah.
strongest.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think buy straight up. Like everybody should just buy. I want to hear what the people who say sell think.
Who's selling?
There's got to be someone who thinks sell,
Yeah.
and then I want to hear the insight. But that aside, I think that's an open and shut case. We agreed on our last 2 statements. We're gonna wrap up the show and call it a night here. Maraming salamat dun sa mga nakinood at nakigulo, nakikulit. And those who watch the show week in, week out, thank you so much, alright? But before we say goodbye, Sona, thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah,
Ikaw ay isang real man, keeping it real all throughout. Tell our folks at home where they can find your social media and anong ganap mo before the playoffs. Meron ka bang mga gigs pa before we go ahead and crown another MPL champion?
Oh my goodness. That is, again, going to be very exciting since merong MPL Philippines playoffs that will be happening in May. But for my social media accounts, you can follow me at Sona Esports. Please don't follow. I mean, you can follow Dominic Roque, right? But that's not me.
Not him.
Okay, so if you see Dominic Roque elsewhere, don't call him Sona. But anyway, it's at Sona Esports for the Facebook, for Twitter, for all social media platforms, and there's like major news that I'm very excited about, and I know that Leo knows about this, but I can't tell you just yet. Okay, wait for it a little bit longer, and hopefully makikita nyo na lang ako. There's a possibility na, but yeah, that's all I can say.
Okay, I love it. Sige, hindi na ito unahan doon. And it's big news. But again, that's why you gotta follow Sona, all the more importantly, on socials, okay? At Sona Esports.
Yeah.
Siya lang yun, alright? It's Sona Esports everywhere. Now, with that being said, we're gonna wrap up the show. We'll take it out to the outro here. Thank you so much for everyone making this possible. Again, from behind the scenes, Direk Kaloy, JM, Karen, Marcos, Carlo, Vince, everyone who's a part of the show here. Maraming salamat. And our friends watching online, Darkly Studios, you guys are the true G's. Thank you so much to our partners making the show happen. TW Steel by Armory. If you're looking to get a new watch, go ahead, visit www.armory.ph. Use the code DLS20 to get 20% off on non-sale items upon checkout. That's www.armory.ph. Thank you as well to our official food partner, that's Chick and Juicy by Magnolia. You can follow them on their socials right here. Order now. Subo real quick, just so you all know that this is the home of the juiciest, most flavorful fried chicken you've ever tasted. It's the #1 gaming snack. And it's the chicken of champions. I am struggling to get this in my mouth. Lovely. Oh, by the way, when the show wraps up and you guys want to check out what happened on Chill Zone last night, pwede nyo panoorin yun. Chill Zone airs every Wednesday, 7 p.m. It's hosted by our friend Toriyama. Kagabi kasama niya sa show si Miss AJ Barueso. AJ was interviewed by Toriyama live from the bootcamp of Ako Si Doggy. So Boss Dogs had them over, nag-record sila ng episode, and then they aired it last night. So you can watch that again after the show. But yeah, for those of you wondering kung kailan nga ba ang magiging playoffs ng PBA Esports Bakbakan, it's official. It's happening May 1st, alright? May 1st, 1 p.m. Doon natin mapapanood ang top 4. It's going to be Phoenix versus Ginebra and TNT versus Northport. Alright? Real quick, Sona, we've been a part of this since the beginning, right? OGs tayo ng PBA Esports Bakbakan. We saw the draft, we came through everything. Anong prediction mo for the finals?
Phoenix versus Talk and Text.
Whoa! You do me dirty like that?
Yeah, dude.
Phoenix TNT.
I wanna see Honda Beast make it to the finals, and the TNT super team is right there. Can you even imagine, like, Reggie is part of a PBA esports team?
Okay.
Oh, ba.
Sige. I'm still
Go Phoenix, go TNT.
I'm still on the TNT Barangay Ginebra. Doon pa rin ako. That's it for me. They can take it the distance, pero yun na yun. I regret asking you. You're out.
Let me,
Let's take it out to the outro once more. Again, PBA Sports Bakbakan, playoffs happening May 1st, 1 p.m. And the venue, wait till that's announced. It's still a couple weeks out naman from now. As well, we still have the Quantum Raid happening. That's this weekend. It's happening April 22nd, 2023. Pwede pa kayo mag-register. It's a hybrid setup. You guys can join via online from the comfort of your own homes or via on-site. Pwede kayo maglaro dito mismo sa Dark League HQ. Show starts at 11 a.m. There's also a teapot and cosplay contest. Join na, alright? That's the Quantum Raid for all our Genshin Impact fans out there. And last but not least, if you're a COD M player or a Valorant player, we've got also Rise of Agents and the Delta League. Linluto na yan dito sa Dark League Studios. So if I were you, go ahead and follow us on social media to stay on the top of the news or anything else that we're doing here. All right, so that's Dark League Studios. As for me, it's at LeoCastsPH. Maraming salamat for joining us again. This has been another episode of Recall. I'll see you guys next week. But for tomorrow, make sure you watch the MDL playoffs. And then the following weeks, PBA Esports Bakbakan playoffs, MPL playoffs. Again, on behalf of Sona and everyone here at the studio, maraming salamat. Bye-bye. Peace!